Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome to Friday Fright Time, where every week I, Connor, along with my trusty sidekicks, Kofi and Stu, dissect horror movies from throughout history, tearing our favourite, most memorable moments to pieces. This week we're headed back off to the 80s, as we've got a remake of a sci-fi B-movie classic, The Blob, a large gelatinous creature with lots of acid inside. Stuart is one of our best hosts here at Unleash the Ghouls.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. You prick.
Co-written by Frank Darabont, famous for writing The Walking Dead,
Okay.
The Green Mile,
Amazing.
and the screenplay for The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, top films.
And at the peak of his output, we've got The Blob.
The Blob was really good.
I know.
It starts off, though, with this guy trying to do a motorbike jump, which he eventually just bails and completely fucks up. But he's just using some fucking road bike. You'd think if you're going to try stunts on a bike in some dusty outback-looking shithole of an arse fuck of America place, you'd at least use a proper, like, motocross bike like they did in Eight-Legged Freaks and not some, like, Triumph from back in the 80s. But the next time we see him, he's now fixing his bike, but he's fixing his bike in the middle of a forest, in the middle of the night, which you deserve to die. But somehow, he evades death. It really fucking annoyed me that he evaded death at this point, because I knew I was going to hate this character, and he proved me right throughout this film that he was a dick. But the reason he nearly dies is because a classic giant meteor flies past a homeless man who's busy getting shit-faced on his own. He picks up an axe to go and investigate, which I thought was pretty badass, and it's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 3 months, playing fucking Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just running about as a Viking warrior, like slaying everyone down with my axe. But anyways, when he gets to the crash site, it's just filled with this pink bubbling goo. So he does what any rational homeless drunk man would do and just prods it with a massive stick.
Yeah.
But it's just a massive lump of jizz grabs his arm. It basically starts the story from there.
Yeah, like you had the game of American football at the start of the film, and you see Paul, he's like going out on a date or something with one of the cheerleaders, Meg. Yeah, he pops to, like, I don't know, the pharmacist or something. He's getting chatted up by a priest.
Yes, fucking nonce priest.
Oh, yeah.
Literally comes over and starts noncing on the star football player while the star football player is buying some condoms. What I do like about this scene is he went for ribbed for her pleasure, obviously.
Yeah.
Top gent.
Always put the ladies first.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to care about these things, you know? So, obviously a gentleman.
And it actually transformed into a fucking brilliant gag, because, like, the guy behind the counter, it turns out is the dad of the girl that he's dating. So, like, Paul rocks up at their gaff, and he's sitting in the armchair, he puts his paper down, and he just goes, ribbed. I was fucking howling. Like, it's actually well played.
But yeah, the Blob infects the homeless man and kind of melts onto his arm, and then he runs through the woods. He then sees the guy on the bike. The guy on the bike manages to kind of evade death from him, and then it kind of moves to the homeless man being in hospital, and then his corpse just his body just kind of melts.
Oh, it looked sick as well.
It looked really good. They like pull back the sheet, and they like half of him is just disintegrated, and then all hell just breaks loose in the hospital, doesn't it? You know, eventually it eats another bloke and it just melts him to pieces in front of the date that he's with.
It sets up this guy, Paul, sort of being like the main guy in the film. He's, you know, the guy we see at the very start playing American football. We see him, you know, going buying the condoms and stuff. We spend quite a lot of the first 25 minutes with him, but then he's dead.
Yeah.
He gets pulled off by the Blob.
Well, he probably would have if he had continued his date.
I don't even know what word I was aiming for there. He gets murked by the Blob. I don't know.
Murked. Yeah, he does, but it's the way he dies. It looked really good.
What I like as the concept for the Blob in this version of the Blob is that the idea the writers had was make it a bit like a stomach, so that you've got like the outside, but interior is like acidic. So whenever you're stuck in the Blob, you're gonna get like disintegrated down. And because it's like transparent, there's a couple of times in the film where you see dead bodies inside the Blob being broken down, and it just looks fucking really cool. I mean, the majority of the budget on this film went into to the special effects, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
It's circulating that it's between 10 and 19 million that the film cost to make, but about 9 million was spent on the special effects. And you can kind of tell, because it's easily the standout thing in this movie.
Although that budget is probably higher than I thought they had spent, it's like, I can understand why, and they, I think generally all round, I think they did a pretty good job. As I say, there were a few sketchy ones. I like distinctly remember some woman's like face being melted and it kind of caved in and it looked fucking terrible.
The guy's got the girl in the car.
Yeah, doesn't she fall asleep or something, doesn't she? Or pretends to, and starts unbuttoning her top like a rapist.
Oh, full on rapey. Like, he goes to the boot of his car and he's got a fucking minibar in the boot.
He's got a full date set up. He's got mint mouth spray, hasn't he? He's got like a drink dispenser.
He says to the girl, "Oh, honey, you're wearing my ring, so that makes you my girl." And then when he goes to his boot, there's just a box full of exactly the same ring.
And he tells her he's like never done this before, and he goes to the boot and it's just set up perfectly for like everything he's trying to do to her. But I think it's the death of her where her her face just kind of gets sucked in, and that looked pretty bad.
One of the weaker ones in the film, definitely.
There's another death I liked, which is a scene in like the diner where the plug hole's blocked, and so the bloke goes in there to try and help, and he's like plunging it, and basically eventually he gets sucked down the plug hole face first, which actually again was done like pretty well.
You can see the blood like bursting through like the pipes, the outlet pipes underneath the sink.
Yeah, classic like pipe bulge, doesn't it? And then but the blood sprays out of like the joint in the pipe. I thought it was pretty good, and then that immediately went to her, like she went to a phone box to call the police for help, and like the blob surrounds the phone box, and it eventually kind of caved its way in. But the way it like poured into the phone box was like, it reminded me of one of those old tsunami videos where the water kind of is like at a hotel door, and then it just eventually just overpowers it and comes flooding in, and it just causes like chaos. It was almost like that, the way they like poured it in, and you just see her obliterated in this very small space very quickly. Again, I thought they did really well with it.
But yeah, that's also the scene where like the blob's surrounding the windows, like the glass, and she sees the policeman she's trying to get in touch with. His face presses against the glass and it's like half melted away. It's like, oh my god, really sick.
The effects kind of made it. I think if the effects weren't good, it probably would have been like not the greatest film in the world, but because it was so well done, and like you say, the deaths were quite creative and well put together, I thought this was a really good film. Of course, there's fucking, a weird plot twist at the end with the guys in the hazmat suits who just openly tell the teenagers all about the blob, what they know about its existence, which includes the real reason that all the dinosaurs were wiped out. It apparently was the blob back then, but it just openly tells them, and then spends ages trying to kill these fucking children, which was a bit of a weird kind of twist into the film.
Yeah, I don't think it gets in the way, because like the first sort of 50 minutes of the film is just the blob going on a rampage, but then you get the like a biological containment team show up, and they're like, oh yeah, so we've studied this blob, we know it killed the dinosaurs, we want to like research it. Then they want to get the blob and use it as a weapon in biological warfare. They want to like harness its power and be able to give America a one-up on the Russians. So like it doesn't really go anywhere, to be fair, but I don't think that side plot particularly interfered with what was going on, because you're still just interested in the blob going fucking mental, attacking people.
Yeah, just as like that, the way they twisted it, I didn't think was like, the most enjoyable plot line to kind of follow. But as you say, I don't think it kind of detracted or made the film worse. I just think it wasn't that interesting to me. But you have to take it somewhere, don't you, and have some kind of like way to finish the film off. Otherwise, it's just literally the blob going around killing everyone, and that's the end of it. I found it funny, the end. Of course, it was like a crazy fucking priest that saved a bit of the blob and is going to bring on the impending apocalypse, isn't it? The way the blob looks in the jar that he's got was pretty cool and well done, and I think that was a nice little closer, that he was he was a nutter and he was going to let it loose again eventually when the time was right. But yeah, as I said, I think this was a class film, and I would urge people, if they haven't seen it, to go watch it.
So like finalise sort of wrapping off the plot and what happens to the blob. First off, there's an amazing segment in a cinema which is a throwback to the original. So you've got these like kids and they're watching like a Friday Friday the 13th ripoff thing. It's like Hockey Mask Massacre or something, I think it's called. But it actually looks fucking incredible. There's just a guy in like a Jason mask, but he's just got a hedge trimmer. It's like, of all the weapons you could have picked, oh, incredible.
I like the way the blob like consumed the projector, so it like projected onto the screen like the blob like smothering the film.
Yeah, it looks sick.
Before like all hell broke loose. That was like, again, like visually it was really well done, I think.
Even like in terms of this film having balls as well, it's got quite a lot of, you know, gratuitous deaths and stuff, but they kill a kid, and not just like in passing. He gets absolutely demolished. Like, they're in the sewers. You've got Meg, the cheerleader from earlier, and she's saved the two kids who've been watching the Hockey Mask movie. And yeah, one of them just gets snatched up by the blob, and you just see him inside decomposing. It's like, fucking hell, this is like a 9-year-old kid, and we just watching him get mullered.
In most of the films we've reviewed, all of the kids are little twats, so
that's true.
I think pretty much any children in any of these films should get mauled anyway, because they're all knobs.
He took one for the team, this lad, did he?
Like, his death makes me feel better about all the other little dickheads that we've had to watch up till now.
So yeah, the way that the blob is finally killed off in this film, what do we think of it? Because it's a bit of a random one. We kind of learn that the blob is taken out by the cold, which is discovered when Meg shoots a fire extinguisher at it for no apparent reason, and it just happens to work. And like the Nancy Reverend appears again, and he's like walking towards the blob. He's like, oh, this has all been prophesized. And I'm thinking, which passage of the Bible mentions the giant killer blob again? You want to know a bit that pissed me off in this whole final sequence, right? So the bio team, they're all shooting down a manhole at the blob because the blob's in the sewer. And there's a guy shooting it with a pistol when he literally has 2 grenades attached to his jacket, but he still chooses to shoot at it. Just take your grenades off, like.
Yeah, they just make exceptionally shit choices.
Yeah, I mean, it even goes into the townsfolk because they take shelter in like a big building, and one of the cops barricades the door by putting his truncheon in the door handles. They're trying to fend off a giant fucking blob that's just burst through the road, and you think a truncheon in front of a wooden door is gonna make any difference?
The thing is, though,
it does.
Yeah, that's the thing with these kinds of films. That absolutely makes the difference. It's always the way, isn't it? Like, something can destroy a whole village, but if you put a broom through a door handle, impenetrable. It always reminds me of that Jurassic Park bit where the kids are in the kitchen and the raptors come, and the raptors like look through the window and then they bust the doors open. Any film that does the like classic something through the door handle, chair under the door handle, broom through it, truncheon through it, always reminds me of that Jurassic Park scene with the raptors in it.
That'll be a good review actually at some point, Jurassic Park. We're not doing 3 though. Fuck 3.
No, but ones with that, like, I mean, the whole time we've been recording, I've been watching Blade Trinity, so
yes.
Like ones like that where they're like 2 or 3 films or whatever, we should legitimately save for later down the line and do marathons.
Fire idea. If you have any ideas for marathons, chuck them in the comments.
Oh,
engagement.
You fucking stole my bit.
Oh, do it.
Well, you've kind of done it.
Redo it.
Okay. Well, if you've got any ideas for trilogies, let us know in the comments.
Smooth. That's a level 100 segue if ever I saw one.
At least no one had done it before me, eh?
Yeah, wink, wink.
Yeah. Edit that out.
And it's in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And we're keeping it.
And we're back to the blob because we have Captain fucking Mullet here. He has a trucker. A trucker? Is that the right word? Like, oh, I suppose it's a truck.
I don't think it's any kind of word. I think you've just made it up.
What am I thinking of? The big, like, vat of snow on this... A tanker. That's what I'm thinking of.
A tanker. A vat of snow.
That's it. It's like, it says a snowmaker on the side, but I've never seen anything like this.
Surely a snowmaker isn't cold, because it's fake snow. So surely that's not cold and wouldn't affect the block, unless they're trying to say it is real snow and that whole tanker is just filled with snow.
Is it like Rick and Morty? Oh, I got real fake snow.
Yeah, maybe it's that. And maybe we're the idiots for thinking otherwise. If you know how they make real fake snow, leave a comment below. Engagement, mate. All about the big E.
To wrap this one up for this week, really solid film. Highly recommend it. I would also recommend the original with Steve McQueen, but it doesn't obviously have as much gore and violence as this one does. Just a really enjoyable, not too long, about an hour and 27-ish minutes the film's on. Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, totally agree. Good effects, pretty decent story. Just skip the first 15 minutes.
That's just the same description as our episodes, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, people usually listen for about 7 or 8 minutes and switch off. So all of this shit now isn't going to ever get listened to. So we can say what we want because no one's listening.
Oh, God, the gloves are off now.
Oh, mate, just don't even ask them to subscribe because they're not listening.
That's true.
Outro to no one.
Good session, that. Next week, I'll let you know what we're recording next week. We'll get Kofi back in.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the 2-man episodes are better without him, to be fair.
Easier to edit as well, so...
I don't think, people realise how much effort goes into the first 7 minutes of the episodes that they watch and then switch off after.
I genuinely think if they knew how long these things take to edit, they'd subscribe straight away.
I mean, we definitely do need to get more subscribers because otherwise it's just a bit pointless doing this, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree, and I think the only way that's going to change is if the people that do listen to the first 7 minutes click the subscribe button, even though it doesn't really impact them, other than they would get notified every time we drop, a new episode, saving them the hassle of like forgetting a week or having to go find it if they, searching and stuff. It would just notify them, which would save them a bit of hassle, but it doesn't really impact them a lot, but it would mean the world to us.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, if anything, it makes the little bell change colour, so that's worth doing.
It does that as well, yeah. So that, I mean, if anything, you would think people would do it to make their YouTube look a bit more colourful.
It's also true.
Yeah.
Good team talk, mate. I'll see you next week, right?
Yeah. All right, pal. Have a good one.
Yeah, same to you, bro.
All right, chill out, man.